Hey, Brayden. Do you remember that meme that you texted to me about 2 weeks ago? The one about the couple dividing Beanie Babies during a divorce proceeding in the 90s?
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay, so I posted that to our TikTok account at the 90s Rewind Report, and it has had 149,000 views, 4,519 likes, 124 comments, 289 bookmarks. And these comments, people are willing to die on a hill over whether or not Beanie Babies are actually worth money. I'd love to have like a Beanie Baby enthusiast on the podcast. So if you are bonkers for Beanie Babies, if you're a Beanie Baby connoisseur and want to come on the podcast, send us an email to the 90s Rewind Report at gmail.com and we'll make it happen. Now, Brayden, TGIF was a big part of both of our childhoods at one time or another. So this is one of the topics that was in my top 10. I just had to talk about it. When you think TGIF, what is the first show that comes to your mind?
Teen Angel.
Oh, that's a good
which
one.
I don't think anybody remembers.
Oh, I remember Teen Angel. We're gonna definitely talk about that too.
Okay.
Now, as we were growing up, Brayden and I had a third partner in crime, possibly the leader of our little 90s kid posse. There is not a single childhood memory I have that does not have him in it. So please welcome my childhood best friend from the 90s and someone that is very special to both Brayden and I, our new co-host, Nathan Lane. So welcome, Nathan.
Hey.
Hey. I'm so glad that you look back and you say, no, you were the Leonardo, Nate.
It's true. So to warm us up, I asked Brayden and Bailey a few trivia questions last time and they struggled. Brayden, you can't answer these. You're not allowed to because you know the answer. But the whole time, did we not? The entire time that you were trying to guess the answers to this, we were all saying Nate would know the answer to at least 3 or 4 of these, I would say.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
the first question that I'm going to ask, and it's an easy one. It's just to warm you up. Easy.
Go at it. Let's see.
The Saturday night Nickelodeon lineup. What was that programming block called?
That was Snick with the big orange couch and that fantastic lineup.
Absolutely. You got that correct.
What does SNCC stand for?
I thought it was just Saturday Nickelodeon.
Yeah, that is exactly.
I mean,
I
don't think we're like trying to get that profound with the young 90s audience.
I thought that the other day, and I was like, I don't think that's actually an acronym.
Saturday night is Cool Kids. I don't know. What?
Yeah.
Okay. So before Sabrina the Teenage Witch dominated ABC's TGIF lineup, there was another witch named Winnie Goodwin who graced the Friday night lineup nearly 1 decade earlier. The show was canceled after 1 season and had 14 episodes, only 13 of which ever aired. What was the name of this witchy Friday night show?
The only Winnie I remember from that age was like Winnie Cooper from the Wonder Years.
I can give you another hint. It starred a young Allison Hannigan, not as the witch, but as the child that the witch babysat for.
Now, I'm probably going to slap myself here in a minute for not knowing this because this sounds familiar.
It's a very lackluster name. That Brayden and I agreed on that last time.
It sounds like it could have been. You remember that movie Running on Empty with River Phoenix, with like the hippie parents?
Just
it feels like it could have been like an alternate title to Running on Empty. Anyways, Michael, if you want to say the name of it.
Yeah, so it was called Free Spirit.
I don't remember that one at all.
And I owe you an apology, Brayden. So the next question.
Apologies.
Well, that's
We'll get to that later.
But the next question, I'm going to go ahead and ask Nathan. So speaking of TGIF, can you name the 4 shows from the original TGIF lineup, which debuted in 1989?
Oh, let me see here. I believe it was Full House.
Correct.
Family Matters.
Correct.
Perfect Strangers.
Correct.
And what was that last one? Was it Step by Step?
Not Step by Step was not on yet, but you got 3 or 4. I'm going to give you a huge hint. Heather Langenkamp from the Nightmare on Elm Street movies was actually on this show.
Oh, wow.
As a regular.
She was on a TV show. Oh, my goodness. No. Because I'm trying to think, like, what would have been earlier than, like, the step-by-step lineup? It's not like something weird like Mr. Belvedere, is it?
It was, Mr. Belvedere predates TGIF by a couple of years, but
okay, that makes sense.
It was called Just the 10 of Us.
Just the 10 of us.
Which basically sounds like Step by Step.
Yeah.
It's like an early iteration of Step by Step. You guys just watch the intro for just the 10 of us. I swear it's like 8 minutes long because it's like introducing every single cast member of the just the 10 of them. Okay, anyway. Oh, and I owe you the apology, Braden, because you had asked if Free Spirit was one of those shows, and technically the very first week that TGIF ever debuted, instead of just the 10 of us, Free Spirit debuted at 9:30 that night.
Right.
But that was just to debut the show, and then it moved to a different weeknight, and just the 10 of us returned to its regular schedule. But you were technically, I mean, I have to give you
It's like the original member that quit before the first album.
There you go. They were there. Yeah, that's true. Okay.
Right.
And I got sucked into the limbo of the late night shuffle.
This next question, I actually posted a clip from our last podcast on TikTok to see if our fellow nostalgians knew the answer. There were several guesses, including Frasier, Saved by the Bell, Wonder Years, and Silver Spoons. Although none of these answers were correct, 2 people did guess the correct answer. So here's the question. This show debuted in 1989. The show continued to air until 2001 with 11 total seasons. Arguably one of the most watched shows of the 90s, with a weekly viewing audience of over 1.1 billion. Can you name the show?
Is it Seinfeld?
It is not Seinfeld, but that's a very good guess. I think that was Braden's guess last time, or Bailey's one. No, Braden guessed Full House, and Bailey guessed Seinfeld. I'm going to give you a second clue again. I didn't give them a second clue, so that's really not fair. But 2 of the main cast members had 2 separate scandals, but both of their scandals were caught on videotape.
Oh.
Wait, was it Friends?
No.
Was it Baywatch?
It was Baywatch.
Oh,
It was
wow.
Baywatch. It was. And there are 2
1 billion people.
That is so, well, I guess, with that intro alone, it probably sucked in half the male population.
Actually,
across the whole globe, every male with a TV.
Let me tell you guys something crazy. After we recorded that episode that you and I did, Braden, with Bailey, about that question with Baywatch came up, I looked it up because I was giving people hints on TikTok, trying to get them to guess it. And the audience was actually 65% females, 18 to 34.
I'll tell you, the Hoff had them good.
I was shocked by that.
Yeah, you're right. In Germany, I heard he was big in Germany.
Yeah, those stats were worldwide. The 1.1 billion was world. But there were 2 people who guessed it right. One of them, these are people on TikTok. His handle is at healthy, not high. Okay. And then the other one is at Mark Lincoln Lover. So they're the 2 people who actually guessed it correctly. If we ever have trivia questions like that and you got it right, you may get a shout out. So
congratulations, gang. You made us look like tools. Bravo.
Great job, guys.
Yeah, so next question. Gak was a gooey sort of slime that was a favorite of 90s kids. And actually, as Nathan and I were talking about earlier, his girls are obsessed with it, so it's back in. It's called slime now. But Gak also came out with a second product that became just as popular using the same recipe, with tiny foam balls suspended in this version. What was this Gak product called?
Oh my, was it Floam?
You got it. You got it with no
I
hesitation.
remember the packaging. It was beautiful. Nickelodeon just knew how to sell stuff to kids back then.
Bailey guessed it last time, but I had to say it rhymes with foam, and then she's like, foam. This next one, I'm going to start naming characters from this Nickelodeon animated series that began in 1994 and ran 4 seasons. Oblina, Icarus, Crumb,
Real monsters.
I didn't even get to the Grumble. Yep.
Oh no! It's like, as soon as you said Icus, it's like, oh.
You were 100% correct. Okay. So today we're going to actually be talking about TGIF. So TGIF was an American primetime television programming block that has aired on ABC at various points since the late 1980s. The name comes from the initials of the popular phrase, "Thank God It's Friday." However, the stars of the lineup touted the meaning, "Thank goodness it's funny." In its various incarnations, the block mainly featured situation comedies aimed at a family audience. The block initially premiered on September 22nd, 1989 as a partnership with Lamar Television and television producers Thomas L. Miller and Robert L. Boyett, who had a deal with Lorimar, marking one of the first attempts by a major network to brand a programming block with the goal of encouraging young viewers to watch the entire lineup instead of just a particular show. The TGIF block dominated the ratings in the 18 to 49 demographic for most of the 1990s. TGIF was created and executive produced by Jim Janicek. Prior to the official launch of the block, Janicek was employed as a writer and producer for ABC Entertainment, who was in charge of promoting the network's Tuesday and Friday night comedy lineups. Recalling his childhood when his family would gather to watch The Wonderful World of Disney, he was inspired to create a family-oriented comedy block. In 1988, Janicek began gaining support for his concept by approaching the studios and talent of independently produced ABC shows, promoting the synergy and potential success of the Family Block brand. With 4 ABC family-oriented comedy series on board, the initial lineup for the block was created. The block of predominantly family-friendly situation comedies was inaugurated in the 1988-89 season with 3 series that were already part of the Friday night lineup: Perfect Strangers, Full House, and Mr. Belvedere. Ooh, I was wrong. Nathan, you were right. Mr. Belvedere.
I know what I'm talking about.
I did all this homework and I was wrong. Okay. Mr. Feeney would be disappointed. The sophomore series, new to that night, Just the 10 of Us, a spinoff of Growing Pains, which originally aired on Tuesdays for its abbreviated first season in the spring of 1988. After the success of TGIF, ABC asked Janicek to create a block theme for their existing Tuesday night sitcoms, 2 of which were Who's the Boss and Roseanne. Those are 2 shows that we talked about in the last podcast, and thus began Terrific Tuesday, and eventually What a Wednesday came along. Both program blocks followed the TGIF formula of back-to-back family-friendly sitcoms, but neither Terrific Tuesday nor What a Wednesday ever came close to living up to the success of their predecessor, TGIF. Do you guys remember Terrific Tuesdays or What a Wednesday? Because I have very vague I don't remember the shows, but I have vague recollections of like the promos.
See, I don't remember the whole Terrific Tuesdays or What a Wednesdays, but I don't think they got quite nearly as much, word of mouth as the TGIF. Yeah, that was like a water cooler thing where everybody talked, just watch TGIF on Friday. And
Monday you would show up at school and that was what people would talk about was the Friday night line.
No, I probably remember like the TV shows, but I just don't remember them being part of a particular lineup. Because, you as a kid, you walk in on what your parents are watching, and in the 90s, it was typically sitcoms. I mean, it was like the tail end of that, sitcom boom that we lost at the beginning of the 2000s when we started going towards more reality shows.
Yeah.
I mean, we already learned a little bit about the original block that debuted in 1989, but let's dive a little deeper and take a look at the programs over the series run, like you were talking about, see what we remember. So in 1989, it was Full House, Family Matters, Perfect Strangers, and then it was Free Spirit the first week, and then after that, it returned to Just the 10 of Us and remained Just the 10 of Us. So in case no one's familiar, I do have the summaries here. So Full House is an American television sitcom created by Jeff Franklin for ABC. The show is about widowed father Danny Tanner, who enlists his brother-in-law Jesse Kostopoulos and childhood best friend Joey Gladstone to help raise his 3 daughters. Eldest Donna Jo, DJ for short, middle child Stephanie, and youngest Michelle in his San Francisco home. It originally aired from September 22nd, 1987 to May 23rd, 1995, with a total of 8 seasons consisting of 192 episodes. So what are your Full House memories?
Well, one thing that, like, going back now and rewatching it, I didn't realize how dramatic some of those segments were. Because, like, back in the, I don't know, I guess back in the day, you just think of, like, the kids' adventures and the morals that they learn.
Right.
But then, like, first season, like, Uncle Jesse going through, like, a midlife crisis and, Danny coming to terms with what it's like to be a single parent. Because there were some episodes where DJ's having breakdowns talking about her mom and stuff, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't remember it being this dramatic.
That stuff was pretty heavy, yeah.
Bob Saget being goofy and stuff. And then all of a sudden it's like, I guess like a lot of that dramatic stuff went over my 6-year-old head, especially back in the late 80s.
Yeah.
I love that my kids are getting into it now, which shows that this shows and the premises can leap a generational boundary.
Basically the frame of every Full House episode where it'd be like the three kids would all be having the same problem at the same time. And then in the last like 3-4 minutes of the show, it'd be the parents explaining to them why they're all wrong and why they need to change their ways.
Oh yeah.
It was
It's
kind of
there's
like
a reason you should have come to me before you stole the car.
Yeah.
I could have driven you to the store and we'd still have a car. Almost all of those sitcoms of that age, you had your initial intro of the show, the struggle that builds, the second act where it just like switches around. It's like, oh no, how could our plans just all fall apart? And then like the dad of that particular sitcom just sits him down. It's like, let's talk about how you were wrong and how we should never ever do that again. And the whole time there's like this very soft, dramatic music playing in the background. I think that's the reason I'm half the father I am today is because I just borrow from Danny Tanner and Carl Winslow and all those fantastic fathers of yesteryear.
They were good TV dads.
Cut it out.
I would not do impressions nearly as often as I do if it wasn't for Dave Coulier.
It was a really good show that you could watch, like your whole family could watch it and enjoy it together. So rest in peace, Bob Saget. We gotta move on. Family Matters is our next show in the lineup, and it's an American television sitcom that originally aired on ABC for 8 seasons from September 22nd, 1989 to May 9th, 1997, then moved to CBS for its 9th and final season from September 19th, 1997 to July 17th, 1998, a spinoff of Perfect Strangers. The series was created by William Bickley and Michael Warren and revolves around the Winslow family, an African-American middle-class family living in Chicago, Illinois. Midway through the first season, the show introduced the Winslows' nerdy neighbor, Steve Urkel, which Nathan has a doll of here.
That's right.
I'm going to get a picture of it and put it on our social media. So Steve Urkel, who was originally scripted to appear as a one-time character. However, he quickly became the show's breakout character and eventually the main character, joining the main cast. So Family Matters, what are your memories from childhood of watching Family Matters?
Well, I just remember really wishing that Steve Urkel lived close to me, but I'm glad he wasn't my neighbor because I felt so bad for Carl Winslow and all the shenanigans he instituted.
I did love Urkel, yeah.
He basically stalked Laura. In a sweet way.
He was. I mean, when you stalk with flowers, it's not nearly as creepy as, trench coat in the bushes kind of stalking. It's just no less creepy.
Is there one where Steve gets into like a machine and then he air quote unnerds himself?
Like flowers for Algernon.
Oh yeah, Stefan.
Stefan.
Oh no, I was like, I remember being a kid wishing I had a machine that could make me as cool as Stefan Urkel.
Have you watched that clip where he transforms back into Urkel?
No.
Dude,
oh yeah,
what's
no, like
the name of the actor?
Jerking and
what's
stuff.
the name of the actor? What's the name of the actor?
Oh, Jaleel White.
Yeah, no, that was like an incredible
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde kind of transformation.
I think they do it all in one take too.
Oh yeah, he falls behind the couch and then he comes up with the glasses back on.
Yeah.
Family Matters was a great show. So the next show that they spun off from was Perfect Strangers, and that's an American sitcom that ran for 8 seasons from March 25th, 1986 to August 6th, 1993. On the ABC television network, created by Del McCraven, the series chronicles the rocky existence of Midwestern American Larry Appleton, played by Mark Lynn Baker, and his distant cousin from Eastern Mediterranean Europe, Balky
Bartakamoose.
Thank you. played by Bronson Pinchot. I know how to say his real name. So Perfect Strangers, I talked about this a little bit last time. Yes, I remember watching Perfect Strangers when it aired. Okay, what are your guys' memories about Perfect Strangers?
Right.
Oh, well, the main thing I remember is Bronson Pinchot playing Balky Bartakamoose, but I think it was just the name that stuck with me. I don't know, he was such a fish out of water story, and that's all that I really remember the most of. And I think it kind of got replaced with the Third Rock from the Sun with that whole fish out of water scenario because they just cranked it up to 11 on that one. But I remember just very little about it. But I think I was still only about 6 or 7 when it was airing. So really, I think reruns probably would have been my only exposure to it because my parents just wanted me to get the hell out of the living room and off to bed at 9 o'clock at night.
Braden, I think you said last time you never watched Perfect Strangers,
I never watched it.
I didn't even remember that Family Matters was a spinoff of it. I just thought that was an original show. It was that era where everything was usually a spinoff of something. So many shows tried to spin off with Married with Children, but that was just, that was Fox.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of spinoffs, the next show in TGIF, Just the 10 of Us, is an American sitcom starring stand-up comedian Bill Kirschenbauer as Coach Graham Lubbock, a teacher and the head of a large Catholic family with 8 children living in Eureka, California. He kept busy.
It did.
The series is a spin-off of Growing Pains, in which Kirschenbauer portrayed the same character on a recurring basis. As the series progressed, Coach Lubbock's 4 eldest daughters, the teenagers Marie, played by Heather Langenkamp, Cindy, played by Jamie Luner, Wendy by Brooke Dice, and Connie by Joanne Willett, became the primary focus of the show. Just the 10 of Us aired on ABC, starting with a trial run from April 26th to May 17th, 1988. After the first 4 episodes in an abbreviated first season were aired, the show was renewed for 2 more seasons, eventually ending after 47 episodes on May 4th, 1990. The show was a part of ABC's early TGIF programming block. I have very vague recollections of watching this show, but I think it's just the intro. But what about you guys?
I think I might have heard the intro growing up, but no, I never remember staying up that late at that age. And it's just like just the 10 of us. I mean, I remember Growing Pains, but I watched a lot of that, especially like all the way through when was it Leonardo DiCaprio joined the cast?
Yeah, he was great. That was the first time I remember thinking he was like a great actor. Yeah.
They had the 3 kids. I grew up in a 3-kid family. I identified with that one, but just the 10 of us, that's a lot of kids. I don't care if one of them was
That's a lot of character development to cram into 22 minutes.
That's probably why that show only lasted, I think, what was it? 3 seasons total.
See, they should have like started, slowly. Start out with 3 kids, and every season adopt a new one. That way, by like season 11, it's like, wow, look at this gigantic army of children we've grown here.
So next, I went ahead and put Free Spirit on here just because it did technically air, and because I wanted to remind myself to apologize to you, Braden. So I won't go over the. It aired from 89 to 90. Series stars Corinne Boyer as a witch named Winnie, who moves in with a recently divorced father to help care for his 3 children. And it aired only 1 episode on TGIF, but like I said, technically you were correct, so I am sorry. Let's move on. So
Water under the bridge.
It's like, just think of Bewitched, except with Fran Drescher.
So we finally made it to 1990-1991 block. Now that TGIF is doing a fall, winter, and a spring block. So in the fall and winter, you have Full House, Family Matters, Perfect Strangers, and a show called Going Places. And then in the spring, we have Full House, Dinosaurs, Family Matters, and a show called Baby Talk. Okay, let's just talk about some of these new shows that popped up here. So Dinosaurs is an American family sitcom television series that aired on ABC from April 26th, 1991 to July 20th, 1994. The show about a family of dinosaurs was produced by Michael Jacobs Productions and Jim Henson Television in association with Walt Disney Television and distributed by Buena Vista International, Inc. The characters were designed by Henson team member Kirk Thatcher. Dinosaurs. What do you guys remember? I do remember Dinosaurs. I remember I'm the baby. That's all I remember about Dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs is probably the one I have the strongest memories of because I was a lot younger than you two, and I remember the baby character. I remember having all the merch for the baby character.
Oh no, I remember you had a lot of those action figures, and I know more than a couple of times you hit me on the back of the head and said, "Not the mamas."
Yeah, it was funny to me at age 3.
It's like it was good.
Yeah, and also I remember the only action figure I couldn't find was the older brother. He was the only one that I couldn't get a hold of.
Was it Eddie?
Maybe.
I just remember it was the Sinclairs with Carl.
I'd say though, of all these shows, it's the one that I see the most clips of on Instagram.
Oh.
It was so not afraid to go dark at all because the finale is pretty intense.
Yeah.
But then they had one episode, and I can't remember the specifics, but I remember there was a creature that was absolutely delicious to the dinosaurs, but they were eating it out of
Oh.
existence. And they just kept like eating it, and Carl had the last two, and it like really
Yeah.
made you think. It's like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, we really are devouring things out of, being available.
Yeah.
And then like it got to the end and like they ate the last two and there was no saving. And it's like, wow, okay, I guess this has really got to make you think about how we're overeating
Ethics.
our
yeah.
own livestock.
There's
It's
Get
another
on like
one.
a vegan springboard there.
I'm the vegan now, so it worked on me.
I know. I was like,
The propaganda. I don't know who those writers were, but they were asking pretty serious questions for a show that was watched primarily by children.
like, look at your society and race question.
It came a long way since Puff and Stuff, yeah, the dinosaur company.
Let's move on to Going Places, guys. Going Places is an American television sitcom that aired on ABC from September 21st, 1990 to March 8th, 1991. The series stars Alan Ruck, Jerry Levine, Heather Locklear, and Hallie Todd as four young Hollywood writers renting a house together. It aired as part of the TGIF block. The series was created and executive produced by Robert Grifford and Howard Adler, and developed and executive produced by Thomas L. Miller and Robert L. Boyett for Miller Boyett Productions in association with Lamore Television. I don't remember anything about this show. I don't remember a theme song. I don't remember seeing Heather Locklear on TV on TGI. Any memories
Alan
from
Ruck,
you guys?
anytime I see Alan Ruck, it's always memorable.
That's the thing. Is like
He's
at that age, I
Cameron.
feel like even at 6 or 7 years old, I would remember Heather Locklear.
Yeah, that too.
But
I'm
no, I mean,
surprised
it
that I
sounds like a
remember
movie I would have written in like the early 2000s, like trying to break onto the indie scene or something.
Okay, so none of us remember it, so I see how it only lasted one season. Because remember, TGIF, it was geared towards a young audience. That's who they wanted.
that
So
was never gonna last. Yeah,
I don't think that 8-year-olds cared about the lives of 20-something.
They were like really mature and seasoned 8-year-olds.
I just looked it up, and Alan Ruck was 34 years old at that point. I don't think that.
Yeah,
was
we weren't
exactly-
watching that.
As
We
the
were
star
not.
of the show, I don't think that was appealing to a bunch of. I mean, I was a baby when that came out.
Speaking of babies, the next show, Baby Talk. This is an American
segue.
sitcom. Thank you. That aired on ABC from March 8th, 1991 until May 8th, 1992 as part of ABC's TGIF lineup. This show was loosely based on the Look Who's Talking movies and was adapted for television by Ed Weinberger. Amy Heckerling created characters for the series while using key creative and script elements from Look Who's Talking, which she had written and directed. Don't remember this show, guys. And it seems like something I probably would have actually at least given a chance.
I might have seen some of it and just assumed in my memory that it was part of the Look Who's Talking series because I remember watching those.
I watched all the Look Who's Talking movies, yeah.
Did you see this cast? Did you look at this cast? Tony Danza, I think, was the voice of the baby. And George Clooney was in the first season as a regular.
See, I could almost see that. Like, what was that other show he was on? Facts of Life?
Facts of Life. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he was like a co-star on that, but I guess that was before he had that big breakout with ER, so I could kind of see it.
It was the
Did he still have like the fetid hair though, like the Farrah Fawcett?
I'm sure he always had great hair.
Okay, let's see. We finally made it to 1992 and 1993. They no longer do a winter block; they just do fall and spring now. So, in the fall, they had fall and spring. Family Matters. Fall and spring, Step by Step. In the fall, the next show would be Dinosaurs. After that would be Camp Wilder. In the spring, the next show after Step by Step would be Getting By and Where I Live. Okay, Step by Step is an American television sitcom created by William Bickley and Michael Warren that ran on ABC as part of its TGIF Friday night lineup from September 20th, 1991 to August 15th, 1997. Then it moved to CBS, where it aired from September 19th, 1997 to June 26, 1998, with a total of 160 half-hour episodes spanning 7 seasons. The series follows Patrick Duffy and Suzanne Summers, who star as single parents Frank and Carol, respectively, each with 3 children who wed and form a blended family. Now, I already said I know I watched probably every single episode of Step by Step. What about you
Oh
guys?
yeah. No, Step by Step I loved. But I don't know why. I guess it was like one of those like Brady Bunch like mashups where it's like, oh, you got the mom with kids and the dad with kids, and they're gonna get together and cause a goofy family to arise. But yeah, it was like the kids were a little mixed because you had like a couple of girls and a boy on this side, and a couple of boys and a girl on that side. But
Yeah, I love Step by Step. And they had, what was it, cousin Cody? Was that his name?
yeah, no, that was the thing that like meant the most to me because we have a cousin named Cody Lambert, and they had a cousin named Cody Lambert, and I was like, "Are you serious?"
I never put that together.
Oh yeah, no, and it's like I remember thinking, like, man, cousin Cody living in the driveway. Maybe my cousin Cody. No, my cousin Cody got degrees in computer sciences and is now doing quite well for himself.
He's not just, as our next show, Getting By. Getting By is an American sitcom that aired on ABC from March 5th, 1993 until May 21st, 1993 on NBC. Oh, from September 21st, 1993 until June 18th, 1994. The series was created by William Bickley and Michael Warren, who also served as executive producers with Thomas L. Miller and Robert L. Boyett. The final Miller-Boyett series to begin its run under parent studio Lorimar Television. Getting By was folded into Warner Brothers Television for its second season following Warner Brothers' absorption of Lorimar. I do not recall this show either. I'm feeling,
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I'm like, how did this one escape my radar? We were watching TGIF regularly at that age.
Braden, you would have been 3, but do you have any recollection
No.
of
Reach
Getting
back,
By?
None at all. No. I think like a lot of these are just, I mean, they're difficult to recall anyways. Because, I mean, at 3 years old, it's like my memories of television are much, much different.
Well, I ask because, I mean, I know that you were already listening to 60 Minutes in the Womb, so.
It's like I wanted to get involved at an early age.
It was that tick-tock sound, yeah.
So all of us have amnesia over Getting By. Okay. The next one, I hope you guys remember it because I don't. Camp Wilder is an American television sitcom which aired on ABC from September 18th, 1992 until February 26, 1993. The premise centered on a young woman who opens up her home to the friends of her younger siblings who sought it as a judgment-free hangout. The show aired as part of ABC's TGIF lineup, but was canceled after 19 episodes due to low ratings. Okay, I think I see why I never heard of it. How about you guys?
But I don't remember any of that. But it definitely sounds like my teen years.
You would have been, what, 9 in 92, 93? And I would have been
9 to 10.
7 or 8? Okay. Maybe these were just aimed towards like a teenage audience at the time and we just weren't there yet. I don't know.
Oh, no, at that age, I feel like, Friday nights we were having sleepovers. We were watching The Block. But right around 9 o'clock or so, we decided,
yeah, let's go do something else. Okay, let's see. Next show. God, okay. Where I Live is an American sitcom that premiered on March 5th, 1993 as part of ABC's TGIF lineup. The series was created and executive produced by Michael Jacobs. God, Michael Jacobs had he had Dinosaurs. He's got this. He was on something else earlier that we've already went through too. But anyway, Michael Jacobs and Erich Van Lowe. Its final episode aired on November 20th, 1993. The series starred Doug E. Doug as Douglas St. Martin, a Trinidadian American teenager living in the Harlem section of New York City. He lived with his caring, hardworking parents and his younger sister. Much of the show focused on Douglas's misadventures with his best friends, Reggie and Malcolm. The show was based on Doug E. Doug's own childhood. I'm drawing a blank.
Same here.
Doug, I mostly remember from That Darn Cat.
Yeah, it really was.
And he was in Cool Runnings, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. I forgot he was in Cool Runnings. But
Well,
I would like tip my hat to him for like creating a biographical show in the lineup of a block party of family-friendly programming.
Yeah.
We finally made it to 1993, 1994, and at least for me and Nathan, I know that we know all of these shows at this point. Braden, I don't know if I know you
I'll
know.
probably still struggle, but I'm happy for you
Okay.
too.
Okay. So this is my favorite TGIF show. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it now. It's Boy Meets World. So
Oh yes,
Boy Meets
absolutely.
World aired in 1993. I have a memory of that. I wanted to tell you earlier when we were talking about the old house in the country that your family owned when my dad was living there, and we would have sleepovers there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we were sleeping in like that little back office area or whatever, and that was that little bitty TV that had antenna, and we could watch TGIF. I remember the first episode of Boy Meets World we watched because Step by Step would have been the second show to come on, and I think we were both mad at first because we were like, "We're a Step by Step. What is this new show?" But then we actually liked Boy Meets World when we started watching it. So, 1993, 1994, you got fall, winter, and spring lineups. So Family Matters, Boy Meets World, and Step by Step, they're there all fall, winter, and spring. In fall and winter, you've got Hanging with Mr. Cooper as the fourth show, another good show.
Great
And
show.
then spring, you got Sister Sister. You can't beat that one either.
Oh
I did like
yeah.
Sister, yeah.
Tia and Tamara Mowry. I mean, they were just so great.
They were a staple in every 90s project at one time. They were like the Olsen twins. They were everywhere, and every project they were on, we all wanted to watch. Anyway, so we'll start talking about these new shows. Boy Meets World is an American coming-of-age sitcom created by Michael Jacobs and April Kelly that aired on ABC for 7 seasons between September 1993 and May 2000. The series centers on Corey Matthews and his friends and family as he progresses from childhood to adulthood. Episodes chronicle the everyday events of Corey's home and school life. His teacher and neighbor, George Feeney, delivers life lessons as Corey learns to cope with social and personal issues of adolescence. Corey has strong relationships with his older brother, Eric, younger sister, Morgan, and parents, Amy and Alan. Corey's friendship with Sean Hunter and romantic interest in Topanga Lawrence serve as central focuses of episodes. I was adding on characters that came in later, but let's just focus on right now. We'll talk about those characters when we get.
All you got to worry about is Corey, Eric, and Minkus. That's it.
And poor Minkus, who disappears after season 1.
He really was like the Cunningham older brother, wasn't he?
Let me tell you guys a real quick story. If you don't listen to Pod Meets World, you should. That's a podcast about Boy Meets World. But they actually talk about, Minkus's departure, and they talk about the show a lot, and it's a really good podcast. But anyway, what are your guys' memories about Boy Meets World?
That's one of those things where, I guess at the time, like you said, like we were watching it and we were disappointed that they pushed back Step by Step because we were such fans. But then we got into it immediately because it was like the focus on the child, like on Corey Matthews. Because before that, it was like they had it was a equal playing field, I think. It was like you had the adult story, you had the kid story, and they kind of intertwined. But really, they focused a lot on Corey, his struggles, and how he overcame it with Mr. Feeney typically. But sometimes it was Sean or somebody else.
Apparently,
it really focused on the kid.
Sweet girl,
Yeah.
It was apparently pitched to the network as growing pains through the eyes of the middle child instead of the oldest child. That's how they pitched it to the network.
See, that's perfect too, because I don't know, it's like there's just so many great moments that I actually got to grow up with Corey, but I think he was a little bit older than me, so he went off to college before I even thought about that.
Actually, when they started the show, they were 12 years old. They aged them up, so they went from 7th grade, and then by season 4 they were in 11th grade.
Okay, because that made a little bit of sense.
They aged them up to compete with 90210 and Saved by the Bell.
And that probably explains why in the later seasons he got really dramatic. All of a sudden, Corey started dealing with stuff he definitely wasn't dealing with in season 2 and 3.
Exactly. That's why you and I both feel kind of like we had so much in common with them in those first 2 seasons, and then it's like they're driving, and we're still 13 or 14 at the time. But that's because they were still 13 and 14 in real life, only they're playing 15 and 16. They just aged them up.
Now, when I go back and rewatch it with my kids, I love Mr. Feeney a whole lot more.
Because
it's like that wisdom that he was just laying out for free for those kids.
And you're looking at the parents, and you respect the parents more.
Oh, absolutely. Mr. Matthews is my spirit animal, No, it's I think one thing that really meant to me, in the last few years, though, because we watched an episode where Mr. Feeney is having a heart-to-heart. Couldn't tell you what he's talking to Corey about, but he brings up like when he was a child. And he's like, I remember asking my mother for some butter for my bread. And she said, not today. There's a war in Europe. And I was like, oh my gosh, that totally, kind of relates to today.
I told you that's how obsessed I am. So now that is episode number 3, and that is the one where his dad keeps him up late so that he can watch the game with him, and then he fails a test the next day at school, and then Mr. Feeney won't let him retake the test. Yes, that is that episode. Okay,
that is amazing.
I'm a Boy Meets World super fan. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Nothing wrong with that. But yeah, Hanging with Mr. Cooper though.
That is the next show. Yeah, Hanging with Mr. Cooper is an American television sitcom that originally aired on ABC from September 22nd, 1992 to August 30th, 1997. The series chronicles Mark Cooper, played by Mark Curry, an NBA player turned substitute teacher, gym coach, and later basketball coach, and his roommate, later girlfriend, then fiance, Vanessa, played by Holly Robinson. Loved Hanging with Mr. Cooper. One of my favorite TGIF shows that was very short-lived and didn't get the attention it deserved, but it was a great show. It was a great show. Next we have, Braden, I'm sorry, I didn't hear anything from you about.
Oh, for me, for Boy Meets World?
Or for Hanging with Mr. Cooper. I just completely left you out.
Okay, so for Boy Meets World, like I said, I was really young when it started, so I got into Boy Meets World through reruns. But it's probably the show I watched the most at that age, just because it came on every single day. Yep. And it was one of the few shows that I'd rewatch episodes of, so I've probably seen every one a couple of times.
It was one of, besides Family Matters, I think it's the only other show that went into syndication immediately after the series ended.
Yeah.
So it was rerunning on other networks.
No, I did love Boy Meets World. And then Hanging with Mr. Cooper, I never really watched that much.
Because I hated gym class, but I felt like if I had a Mr. Cooper teaching gym to me, I would be much more involved.
All right, so the last show on our 1993-1994 block of TGIF is Sister Sister. Sister Sister is an American television sitcom starring Tia and Tamara Mowry as identical twin sisters separated at birth who are reunited as teenagers. It premiered on April 1st, 1994 on ABC as part of its TGIF comedy lineup and finished its run on the WB on May 23rd, 1999, airing 119 episodes over 6 seasons. So, Sister Sister, I've already talked about it. You guys go ahead and talk about Sister Sister. I love Sister Sister.
Tia and Tamara Mowry I thought were fantastic. And I remember years later that Lindsay Lohan Parent Trap movie came out, and I thought they totally ripped it off.
Oh, yeah.
And twin sisters that didn't know that the other existed? That can't just be happenstance.
The Parent Trap was a remake of a 70s. Are you talking about It Takes Two with Mary-Kate and Ashley, where they're also separated at birth and they find each other?
Yeah, I didn't remember that because I remember Bailey loved that movie, but I just kind of had it in the background when I was babysitting her. I think the Lindsay Lohan one was the first one I really noticed. It was like, how in the world could this happen? And then I found out, it was based off the 1960s Disney movie. When the Mowrys started doing other things. Because I remember they did that one episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark about the lizards and all that. And that creeped me out. That's probably why I never had a pet lizard growing up.
We're going to talk about Snick in a couple of weeks, actually, and that will probably come up. We'll probably talk about that episode.
Also, I don't have a ton of memories of Sister Sister. The more I think about it, but as far as the Mowrys, Taj Mowry was on Smart Guy, and Smart Guy was a little more in my age range. That's mostly what I remember with the Mowrys.
Oh no! I just remember, at 11 years old, I would have asked either one of the sisters to, school dance, and then I was asked the other one that didn't turn me down. Because I assumed the first one would be like, "No, loser."
All right, guys. So we decided that since TGIF spans such a huge part of the decade, that we're going to break it up into 2 parts. So we just went over 1989 to 1994. And next Friday, if this made you nostalgic for TGIF, don't worry, we're talking in part 2 of TGIF will be 1995 to 2001. So we'll cover all of those shows. And remember, if you are bonkers for Beanie Babies, or as Braden requested in the last episode, the world's biggest Empty Nest fan, We'd love to hear from you and have you on our podcast. If there is a different 90s topic you'd like to come on the show and talk about it yourself, please send us an email to the 90s Rewind Report at gmail.com. Nathan, do you want to be the one to end our second episode of the podcast?
Certainly. I'll make sure that you tune in next time, because we're going to go back to the future, which is to say back to the 90s for more fantastic nostalgia.
That works.